Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Scott's Thoughts. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I made an episode. For the 3 or 4 of you who actually watch these, I know there's not many of you. But I've been busy and had other projects I've been working on. But I'm back for an episode, and if you watched the last episode, you know what topics I was planning on coming up with. And as you saw from the title of the video, today, I'm discussing the rise of the Flat Earthers. So where to begin? First of all, I picked this weekend because it's Columbus Day weekend to do this video. Because there's a popular myth that is going around, other than the Flat Earth thing. There's a popular myth, I guess myth is the best word I can come up with for it, that has been perpetuated for quite some time, that Columbus is the one who discovered the Earth was round. Well, I hate to burst your bubbles, but Columbus didn't discover the Earth was round. He knew the Earth was round. He knew the Earth was round. Everyone on his ships knew the Earth was round. Queen Isabella, King Ferdinand, all their advisors, they all knew the Earth was round. It was very common knowledge in 1492 that the Earth was round. In fact, we'd known the Earth was round since for about 1600 years at that point. And by no, I actually mean we had an approximate circumference of the Earth. Back in about 230 BC, Eratosthenes of Cyrene, Greek, calculated the approximate circumference of the Earth using shadows and so forth to figure out how round the Earth was. I'm not going to get into the exact details of it. I mean, you can look this up. It's out there on the internet. Just, as long as you check a reliable source. It is out there. You can look this up. So by Columbus's time, we'd already known the Earth was round. At the very least for 1600 years. And people suspected the Earth was round even before Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth. Anyone who did any sailing on the ocean would have suspected the Earth was round. Because as a ship goes over the horizon, the bottom of the ship dips below the horizon before the mast and everything else. It goes like this below the horizon. If the Earth was flat and you were sailing forward, it would just get tinier and tinier and tinier and tinier until you couldn't see it anymore, but it would still, you'd still be able to see the whole boat until it was out of range of sight. This is obviously not the case. And so for a time even before Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth, we already had our suspicions that the Earth was round. He just got the circumference kind of really confirmed it. And he actually calculated with a high degree of accuracy given the time he had, the time he did it in, and the materials and at hand to do this calculation with. It wasn't perfect, but it was, again, given what he had to work with, given the time period, it was a very, very good approximation, very good calculation of the circumference of the Earth. So anyways, on to the main topic of this video, the rise of the Flat Earthers. If you've been on the internet at all, and if you're watching this, you've been on the internet, and you haven't been, kind of living under a rock, you know that there is a group of people out there today, now, in 2017, in the 21st century, AD, or ACE, however you want, or CE, however you want to say it, who honestly believe that the Earth is flat. This is not a hoax. They truly, sincerely believe that the Earth is flat, despite all the evidence to the contrary. It's kind of mind-blowing. It's kind of baffling. Who knows, someone might stumble across this video and leave comments underneath. I don't know, again, about 3-4 people even find these videos. I don't even know why I bother making them. But they might find it, leave comments, whatever. But these people exist. And to those of us who know the Earth is round and don't, believe the Earth is flat, it kind of leaves you scratching your head. Why do they believe this? What rational thinking human being in this day and age, with all that we know, would believe that our planet is flat? I mean, you can look at the night sky, you look through a telescope, you can see other planets aren't flat. You can see that all the other planets in the solar system are round. Why would Earth be different? And yeah, again, it leaves you wondering. And they have all sorts of interesting arguments that, I mean, if you really examine them, they don't really make a lot of sense, but they're convinced they do. I saw this one video, and I think I've seen a couple of videos, where they'll hold a ball or a piece of fruit, a round piece of fruit or something, and pour water on it and show it fall off, and say, oh, see, if the Earth was round, water would fall off it, like on this piece of fruit. They're kind of not taking into account the fact that, gravity exists, that would, A, be stronger than the gravitational force of whatever they're holding in their hands, like the Earth's gravitational force would be stronger and therefore pull the water off. And second, that the Earth's gravitational force is pretty flippin' strong. I mean, it's not as strong as like the sun, but again, if you know some basic elementary physics, the more mass, the larger, the more mass, not larger, because large doesn't necessarily mean more mass. The more mass something has, the greater gravitational pull it exerts. And all matter exerts it, even something as small as my cell phone, although it's so teeny tiny that its gravitational force is negligible, to say the least. So, the gravitational pull of the Earth, of course, holds water on the planet. Also the fact that, the vacuum of space doesn't have its own gravitational pull. I mean, the moon has a gravitational pull, the sun has a gravitational pull, all the planets, all the stars, comets, asteroids, whatever, they all have a gravitational pull. But, if the Earth didn't have a gravitational pull, there wouldn't be much to take the water off it anyways. But anyways, they make that argument. Now, and of course you could also explain to them, and they're not going to listen to you, most likely, that, gravity acts towards the center of an object. Because I've also heard the argument, well, if I was walking up the side of a planet, I'd feel like I was walking up a wall. And of course, that isn't true either, because that would imply that there's some gravity pulling you down, not downward. I need something round. Ugh, I don't have a ball with me. I should have had a ball with me. Well, that would imply, let's make a fist, that there's something pulling this way to pull you off the Earth, which of course, again, if you have even an elementary understanding of physics and how gravity works, is not accurate at all. Gravity pulls towards the center of the object, right? So if I'm standing here, let's say this is the Earth, and I'm completely out of scale, of course, standing here, gravity is going to pull me this way, so that I will be on the surface of the Earth like this, and this will be up. And of course, from my point of view, I'm standing upright. Now, yeah, if you look at the planet from the outside, it looks like someone's walking like this, but of course, remember, you're on the Earth. You are actually there on the Earth, and from your perspective, this is down. So from your perspective, you're like this. And we all know this. Up and down are relative to, the position you're in. I mean, if you're on a spaceship or a satellite or something outside the Earth, and you look at the Earth, what would be down if you were on the Earth is straight ahead to you, right? And what would be south to you on the Earth, well, it depends on which way you're facing, but let's say you're looking at the Earth from the conventional viewpoint that we look at it when we look at a globe. If you're looking at the Earth, what we usually consider south would be you're down, because relative to where you are, it is down. But of course, when you're on the Earth, that's south, not down. Again, gravity. The gravity of the Earth holds you on there, which means you're going to be standing like this on the Earth, which means from your perspective, on the Earth, you're like this, even though from someone looking at the planet from the outside, you're like this. Again, most of us know this, but a flat earther will come up with all sorts of explanations for why they don't understand it. They might ask, well, okay, if they believe the Earth is flat, how do they explain when you sail east, or let's say fly, because this is 21st century, you fly east, if you keep going east, you'll come around, all the way around back to where you started, or the same flying west. You come all the way back around where you started. And again, they come up with all sorts of really just convoluted mathematical arguments on how this works. None of them really hold any water, but again, they're very entrenched in this belief. And one of their arguments will be to you, well, if the Earth is rotating, then how come, if the Earth is round and it's rotating, then how come when I fly, let's see, the Earth, sun rises in the east and sets in the west, so that means that the Earth is rotating east, in an easterly direction, right? Yeah. Okay, how come when I fly east, how come I don't just hover in the same place over the Earth? And again, this is, if you, again, understand physics and math, that argument doesn't make much sense either. Because first of all, you'd have to be at the Earth's equator. You'd have to be flying perfectly parallel at the exact same speed as the Earth's rotation, which is unlikely to happen. You know? Because actually you could pull that off. It would be very, very difficult. But you could pull it off where you'd be in a plane. I mean, hypothetically speaking, I don't know. I think the difficulty would make it undoable. But hypothetically speaking, if you were in the right place, if you were at the Earth's equator, and you were going at the exact speed that the Earth is rotating, you know, flying in the direction the Earth's rotating, yeah, you wouldn't make any progress. But the problem is, we don't fly like that. We fly usually not perfectly at the equator. We fly at angles. We fly at different speeds than the Earth is rotating. So, well, in theory, the term theory in science is different than the way laymen use it, but we'll use a layman's term in this particular instance. In theory, you could pull that trick off. But again, it's not, it would take some very precise flying. So when they use that argument, it's like, well, you could do that, but it would be really hard. The way, you know, normally you take off, you fly in a certain direction, you're not meeting all those very, very precise requirements, so you make progress despite the fact that the Earth is rotating. So their argument only works partly, that argument, because again, you could do it in theory, but I don't think anyone's ever done it. It's just kind of a hypothetical, like, yeah, I guess you could pull. But it's not a valid argument for the Earth being flat. And there's a bunch of other arguments that they make. Again, they work really hard on them, and they try to make them sound really good, but if you go digging, or in some cases, if you have even basic, elementary grasp of science and Newtonian physics, you can disprove, you can invalidate. So, yeah, they got a lot of arguments that just don't hold water. And of course, there's a lot of science, a lot of things you could point to why the Earth is round. Right? Again, because you can travel east or west continuously and come all the way back around. You know? And of course, if you really want to get into how gravity works, if the Earth was flat, as you get to the edges, it would get really, really, really hard to move. And again, that's this stuff online you can look at. I think D-News had a video on that, and of course, the Flat Earth is going to tell you, oh, it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy, people. They're in on it. But anyways, yeah. So there's tons of science that we can use, tons of ways we can demonstrate that the Earth is round. You know, you can watch a ship go over the horizon and see it go down first. Oh, another thing they say, well, the Earth feels flat. Well, of course the Earth feels flat when you're walking on it, because the Earth, relative to us, is very large, and we are very, 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 very tiny. You know? Like, if you took a globe and put a grain of sand on it, that grain of sand would represent something much bigger than you. So, you know, that's the scales, the proportions we're talking. So yeah, from the surface of the Earth's curvature is so gradual that, yeah, you're not going to just see it walking along. You know, you're not going to see it, you're not going to feel it. But, you know, engineers have to account for the curvature of the Earth when they design bridges, for example. If a bridge is long enough, they have to account for the circumference of the Earth when building the bridge. They have to, for the curvature of the Earth, for the curvature of the Earth when they build that bridge, to make sure that it's level and that, you know, the two ends of it are right and the bridge is stable and secure and sound. You know? When you go up in a plane, I believe you can see the curvature of the Earth from a plane. Not a plane, from a jet. A plane doesn't fly high enough, but a jet should. Of course, if you get a plane high enough, if you get an aircraft high enough, you can see the curvature of the Earth. If you go on one of those things that Virgin has, that if you're a multimillionaire and you can get that high up, I think they had flights where you can kind of get into the very high atmosphere and you can look down and you can see the Earth is round. We have photographs of the Earth that are round, which of course they'll tell you are faked. These are probably the same people who think we faked the moon landing. I don't know, maybe they don't even believe the moon exists. I don't know. I haven't studied them that much. I don't know how much of the crazy I can really delve into. But yeah, so these people are out there and they really honestly believe the earth is flat, and trying to explain to them, trying to show them the earth is round, I don't know how well that works. I mean, one of the things that has been shown over and over again is that facts don't win an argument. Why? Because people are entrenched in their viewpoint and they want to stay there, despite what the facts are. I mean, maybe some people can be wrong with facts, but facts alone don't usually win an argument. You usually need more than that. You usually need to have some common ground with them, a relationship with them. You usually need to be able to establish that, hey, you and I, we're not that different. We have stuff in common. And maybe when you can establish that you're part of the same, that you them occupy some common ground, then maybe you can start getting through to them. But if you just start slamming facts at people, that doesn't seem to work. It's just the way the human mind works. So now that we've talked about all the reasons, all these arguments, not all the arguments, but a lot of the arguments that they give about why the earth is flat, and the reasons why we know the earth is round, and there's plenty of them. And of course, if we were wrong about the earth being round, that means we have a lot of physics wrong, which means a lot of things we use, scientific things we use in everyday life, shouldn't work, because the physics is built on the same physics and science that tell us the earth is round. So, when we discussed that, let's get into the why. Why do these people believe the earth is flat despite the evidence? Do they really believe that they've got a lot of evidence that the earth is flat? Is it based on just their observation? Because again, I guess, if you just popped into existence today and looked around you on the earth and you didn't really get out much, you might think, this could be flat. Again, you're on the earth, you can't see you can't see the curvature of the earth just standing on it. But these people aren't in that position, right? These people have been around, been on this earth for several years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, however old they happen to be. In the modern era, they've had plenty of stuff to show them that the earth is round. So why do they believe this junk science telling them the earth is flat? Oh, and I also forgot to mention another thing. One of the things they say is the earth is surrounded by the flat earth is surrounded by this ice wall, which no one has a photograph of. If that ice wall is there, sail to it, take a plane to it, take a picture of it for us. Anyway, why are they just so insistent? Why do they want to believe this thing that most of the world has known is not true for, over 2,000 years now? And to get into that, I think you really need to get into the way people think. Now, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm going to base this on what I've observed of human beings, and I know that, again, that's not perfect science, but not just what I've observed, but certain things that really kind of are established about people. Where do I begin? For human beings, it's not always about facts and figures and what's definitely true. It's about being part of something. I think a lot of these people who are part of this flat earth movement, it's not really about whether the earth is flat or round. I mean, maybe they tell themselves this, but I think it's more of being part of a group that has special knowledge, or at least that they believe has special knowledge. They feel like their knowledge that the earth is flat puts them in a special, unique group. That they are special, that they are in a special place, they have special privileged knowledge, that they're in a position that like the rest of the world is bamboozled and into believing the earth is round, but they know the truth. And something about that makes them feel good or special, or like they belong to some special group, and it makes them feel maybe important, or again, like they belong somewhere. That they aren't just part of the masses, that they have a special place. And and people do a lot of things for that reason, that it makes them feel like they're part of a special group. People want to be part of some kind of community, some kind of group. They want that social connection, and especially if it's something distinct, something that's set apart from the rest. So as much as and I don't know why they think that the rest of the world believes that the Earth is round. If it's not, like, if they think there's some big globe conspiracy, like the globe manufacturers of the world, their profits hinge on this, because the Earth, but which doesn't make sense, because the Earth was flat. They could just as easily make money off flat Earth globes and flat Earth maps, but they don't. But yeah, it's this belonging to this special group that knows something that the rest of the world doesn't know. Kind of like conspiracy theories. Conspiracies really do happen, obviously, but most conspiracy theories don't pan out. They're not true. Like faking the moon landing. That's something that you can prove over and over again is not true. That you can prove that, yes, we actually landed on the moon. We've got reflectors on the moon you can shoot a laser at and have the high powered laser at, and it'll reflect back, and you can pick up the reflection and say, oh well, if there's reflectors on there, someone must have been up there. And I think with the telescope you can actually still see the flag that was planted on the moon. Check up on that. I'm not sure, but I believe that and you need a good telescope, probably not something you'd have at home most likely, but you could actually see the flag planted on the moon, as much as it's probably faded by now. And I think, again, it's this mentality of being in that special group. And I don't know what to say. What do you do? How do you convince someone that this is garbage, that this isn't true? And is it important that they know that the Earth is round and not flat? To me, truth is important. If someone is falling for a lie, they're going to be taken advantage of somehow. That lie gets spread. That doesn't. It sets people back, and I just think people should know truth, not lies. Saying the Earth is flat is untrue. It's a lie. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind it is. Again, I've given examples of I think it's about groups, but I don't know how it got started in this modern age, that someone just decided one day, I think the Earth is flat, and I'm going to promote this, and I'm going to ignore all the science, and I'm going to come up with all sorts of crazy theories and formulas and models to explain away the round globe Earth. But yeah, it's thing. It's troubling that in this age people believe that. I think, like so many things, the best thing is don't hammer people who believe in the flat Earth thing, because, again, like I said earlier, facts aren't what win an argument. I think really you have to find some kind of common ground with them. You have to form some kind of relationship to the point where they trust you, that you have no reason to lie to them. Maybe some point where you can say, we have this in common, and once you kind of let them know, they don't have to be part of this fringe group to belong to to have a sense of belonging. Because I think maybe a lot of it is a sense of belonging that they're looking for. And because this is this small group that is terrifyingly growing, because they're part of the small group, it feels extra special to them, and they cling to it. I think you need to establish some kind of familiarity with the person, and not just shout them down the internet, because you don't know these people, and they don't care about someone they don't know telling them that the Earth is round. And then maybe you can make some ground saying, so hey, Bob, or whatever your name is. Don't say whatever your name is. That's gonna screw it up for you right there. Say, so why do you think the Earth is flat? And maybe you can get there from there and be civil about it. But yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon. You can look up things. Like these are Flat Earth Society websites. There's all sorts of stuff. You can really, you can see what these people believe. One thing I really do believe, though, too, is if you're going to tell someone that something they think or believe isn't true, you need to know what they actually believe first. Make sure that you know what they believe. So when you tell them this thing you believe isn't true, they can't turn around and say, oh, that's not what I believe. Where'd you get that from? Come from a place where you actually know what you're talking about to them, even if you know what they believe isn't true. Because if you don't, how are you going to have this conversation with them? How are you going to relate to them if you can't speak to them on their level and then, say, well, I know that you think this, but now let me show you this that's actually true. So yeah, make sure you actually know what they believe. I mean, I know what they believe. I don't know any flat earthers personally. I think they're pretty few and far between, but when you go on the internet, of course, people from all over the world can kind of conglomerate and make it look like a bigger group than it really is. But I don't know any flat earthers personally. And I don't know if I ever will. Again, they're a pretty small group. But, if I did know one, I think I'd look into why they believe what they believe so that I can then have a conversation with them. And that's true of a lot of things. If you know something's true and you know someone's believing something that's not true, you got to know what they're talking about first. You got to know what they believe, what they think first, before you can come up to them and tell them, oh, by the way, that's not true. Because then they're going to start throwing the stuff at you, and you're not going to know where they're coming from, and it's going to be very difficult to show them what is true. So yeah, that's Rise of the Flat Earthers. I don't know how long this group's going to stay around, but now you know about them if you didn't already, and you know my thoughts on them, why I think they believe what they believe, and that I don't think it's really based on actual facts. I think, anyways, you know what I think. Yeah. So thanks for watching. If you have any comments, leave them below. If you know someone who's a flat earther and you want to tell me your experience, all three of you watching this, who probably all know me and then probably don't know any flat earthers because we know mostly the same people. Leave a comment below if you're a flat earther and you want to tell me off. I can't stop you. You can put a comment down below in the comments. Again, I can't do much about it. I mean, I could delete you, but I'm not going to delete you unless you're really uncivil about it. The only comments I'm going to delete are when people are being really rude and uncivil. Like, if you start insulting people, if you start cursing someone out, if you tell someone to kill themselves, I've seen that on YouTube. That's terrible. Never, ever, ever tell someone that in the comments. If I see stuff like that, I delete it. But if you have a civil civil comment you want to make, feel free to put it down below. I'm not going to respond to everyone if I get a lot of comments because, I don't really have a lot of, look how long it took me to get this video up. I don't have a lot of free time, but, I'll respond to what I can. And y'all have a good holiday weekend. I'll see ya. Well, I won't see you next time. Again, this is a camera. I can't see you. You'll see me next time. I'll be back with another video, maybe another Scott Thoughts, maybe something else in the future.